You don't have to be an expert in technology. You just have to have a sense for how technology is rolling out into society and therefore shaping and affecting people's lives. This last point may be hard to understand, and some people may think it's a distinction without a difference, but I believe it to be true. Innovation is not always invention. Invention is the creation of something new. Innovation is the enhancement of something that exists. To be an entrepreneur, you can be an entrepreneur deploying an innovation, or you can be an entrepreneur deploying a new invention. Think about that. It is not always the case, and I think there's a blind spot, that the greatest value to a client, customer, or country, or economy comes from invention. In fact, many economies have grown and succeeded on being entrepreneurial about innovation. And I would argue that there are many country examples of that, Singapore being an obvious one. So, what segment of a market's GDP are you attacking? Are you attacking with your idea the service sector of the GDP and the economy, the manufacturing sector, or the agricultural sector? And do you understand and have you started to think about the significance, the economic as well as market significance of the service sectors of economies? This next slide will show you key countries and the percent of their GDP that's represented by the service sector, the manufacturing sector, and the agricultural sector of their economy. You can see Egypt in the red box. But what does this tell you? It tells you that even countries like China have 40% of their GDP represented by the service sector, and they want to increase that rapidly. That is a government policy of China, to increase the value-added service sector of their economy. Now, take even a small country like the Philippines, 53%, right, more than half. So almost from Egypt and Ireland over, these countries have more than half of their GDP represented by the service sector. As more people in the world are connected, as economies integrate, as demand becomes more precise, the service sector of an economy will grow. This chart represents employment. It's one thing to have your GDP, but where are people working? This is even more dramatic. Right? 80% of the jobs in the UK are in the service sector. That doesn't mean that the UK economy can't grow, can't be competitive. It just means that it's going to be competitive on a different platform. So for you, are you attacking the service sector of a GDP or a market, a manufacturing sector, or the agricultural sector? What markets are you more comfortable with other than your own? Okay? It's not a good enough answer just to say, I'm really comfortable here in Egypt. I think I'll just stay here. You can do that, of course. It's your choice. But if you're going to think about taking advantage of these trends that we see in the world, it's worthwhile thinking about what markets are you more comfortable with than others. And that's a personal choice. Your brain might win out over your heart, and maybe it should, or maybe your heart will win out over your brain. But that's your choice. You're the entrepreneur. You're going to make the choice. We'll see if you're successful. But it's important to know. All right? And which do you want to do business in? And can you be relevant to the national agenda of a market? And this is the exercise we're going to do in a little bit. By being relevant to a country's national agenda, you have a greater chance for market demand pull for how you can succeed. Of course, you have to know what the national agenda of the country is. You have to assess its pluses and its minuses. And then you have to determine what your point of engagement would be. Now, the last point I think is very important and very new age, especially given the YouTube video we just saw. There is a presumption that people think that I have to think about the physical infrastructure of a market or a country before I enter. And you do. But in today's world and in today's economy, you can get to market using a digital infrastructure. And some of the countries who have the least resilient, the least built out physical infrastructures have a very good digital infrastructure because of the platform of mobile technology and cell phones. You have a capacity to reach people in countries, in markets, without going through the traditional bottlenecks of the physical infrastructure. I'm not suggesting that you should only do that. I'm just suggesting it's an opportunity and a pathway to market that is important to think about as you think about what you're going to provide, sell, or make available to people around the world. So now, how do we enable you all? This gets into our fourth section. So yeah, this is interesting, Chris, but now what do I do next, okay? Well, I've put together a couple of practical steps, in my opinion, to help you start. You're not going to be a worldwide entrepreneur with a successful business tomorrow, but it is an obligation of mine as your speaker to tell you where you could start. You don't have to start there. So I put together some steps. The most important act, there's only one act you have to do, which you have to engage. Right? You will not be a global entrepreneur and innovator if you don't engage. So you have to engage. But there are steps that allow you to phase in that engagement. And these are my 4 steps for success. Engage by learning is number 1. Engage by collaborating, number 2. Engage by being a mentor to someone and being a coach to someone. Because none of us have the capacity to appreciate, understand, and master all the different cultures that are now connected to enable demand to be generated in a multicultural, multidimensional world. So learn from others in addition to being connected with others, which is the second point. And of course, then the 4th step is engage by executing. So let's talk about engage by learning for a second. In order to learn, you have to have a sense for trends. I tried to give you some sense for the overall global economic trends as I've seen them. What I've tried to do here is to provide you with what I consider to be some very reliable and best-of-breed resources so that you can learn about the trends that are shaping our world. Right? What I look for are the pain points and the opportunity points. Now, some people only play on pain because there's an expression that says, pain pays better than opportunity. I don't happen to like that. I think it's true, by the way, but I don't like it. So I like to play on the opportunity side. And so therefore, I think it's very important to know where the opportunity points of a market and a business are, as well as where the pain points are. Because many people just want you to solve their problem. I've got this pain. Help me fix my problem. I'll pay you quickly. Just help me fix. That's fine. There's a good life, right, in that, if you're wired that way. If you like to help people create new things and to seek new opportunities, then you have to understand and get a sense for opportunity points. The Information Technology and Innovation Foundation is a think tank that focuses in and does all its work on innovation economics. So it focuses on economics and technology, and the technology trends. The Peterson Institute for International Economics, in my opinion, is the best global resource for understanding international economic details and flows and trends. The Kauffman Foundation, which is the sponsor of Global Entrepreneurship Week and is dedicated to enabling entrepreneurs to be successful, many of you may know about them, is a tremendous resource, especially for the how to be an entrepreneur, as well as the what. Down here in the bottom left, Global Entrepreneurship Week takes place November 16th through 22nd of this year. It will take place again here in Egypt. The website of Global Entrepreneurship Week is a tremendous opportunity and a resource for you to connect with others who are interested in what you're interested in around the world. The Center for Strategic and International Studies has a Center for Global Strategy, a Global Strategy Institute. It will give you a sense for the mega trends, right? the seven things that are shaping our futures collectively in the world. I find it to be a very good resource. And for those of you who like blogs, the blog of Irving Radulski-Berger focuses on technology, its impact on society, and its impact on economics. Continuing on engaging by learning, appreciate, as I said before, the intersection of language and culture. Here are a couple of ideas that I just provide for you that hopefully will be helpful to you. Get a book on culture, create a book on culture. There are handbooks to how to manage diversity and complexity. You don't have to